You're watching CW Montana. This is the MTN 9 o'clock news.
Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Russ Riesinger. This week is part of MTN's series on contested statewide primary election races. We're examining the crowded field vying for Montana's open U.S. House seat. Tonight, Chief Political Reporter Mike Dennison gives us a closer look at the Republicans running for this seat, all 6 of them.
Montana's only U.S. House seat is open because incumbent Republican Greg Gianforte is running for governor. 6 Republicans are trying to succeed him, and the one to beat in the June 2nd primary is State Auditor and Insurance Commissioner Matt Rosendale. Rosendale has raised $1.3 million in campaign funds, far more than any other Republican. He's been endorsed by President Trump, and he's already running TV ads touting that endorsement and his conservative credentials. Rosendale says while the coronavirus has shut down traditional campaigning, he's been busy doing the job of auditor, overseeing health insurers during the crisis.
I am thoroughly convinced that as long as I do a good job at the office that the people of Montana elected me for, that they will continue to give me the support that they have previously and push me forward as the nominee for United States Congress.
But his primary opponents note that Rosendale lost the 2018 race to Democratic U.S. Senator Jon Tester despite a Trump endorsement, and say he's not the best GOP bet to retain this seat. Secretary of State Corey Stapleton hopes his status as a statewide office holder and military veteran could propel him to victory.
In times of trouble, I think that people look for someone who's stable and someone who's served before. And military veterans listening to this will understand this, that I'm just trying to hold out to people that what I bring to this is experience, stability.
And farmer rancher Joe Dooling of Helena says he's been campaigning hard and stressing that he has a down-home Montana appeal that others can't match.
If I'm elected, you guys are my bosses, and I want my boss to call me if he has an issue. So I put my number out there 100 times. Just give me a jingle, and you'll catch me in the tractor.
The other GOP candidates for House are former State Republican Party Chair Deborah Lamb, National Guard vet and former teacher Mark McGinley, and electrician John Ivankovich of Butte. Lamb calls herself the grassroots candidate and says gender won't be an issue if she's the Republican opposing the likely Democratic nominee, Kathleen Williams. McGinley is waging a strong social media campaign, emphasizing a resume he says can resonate with voters as a counselor at the Youth Challenge program in Dillon, his work in prison ministry, and his military record. Ivankovich's campaign has been minimal, but says he can help bring organized labor into the Republican fold. Yet for any Republican candidate not named Rosendale, the question is whether they can overcome the power of name recognition, big-time endorsements, and money. Is Rosendale the best bet for Republicans to hold on to this seat? Or might someone else emerge from this 6-way scrum and win the primary? GOP voters start deciding this weekend when mail ballots go out. Reporting from Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
And as Mike mentioned, those ballots for Montana's June 2nd primary election heading to the mail this weekend. Due to the coronavirus, this year's primary will be the first all-mail-in election in Montana state history. Jay Cohn joins us tonight with some things that voters need to know.
A big day at the courthouse, 85,000 ballots being stuffed and sent out from Yellowstone County. Elections Administrator Brett Rutherford tells me that's about 10,000 more than the total number of absentee ballots sent out 2 years ago.
We are issuing a ballot to every active voter for this election. So there's about 10,000 more people that are going to receive a mail ballot, and we'll see what kind of turnout we get from them.
In both 2016 and 2018, voter participation was around 50% in Yellowstone County. That's about what Rutherford expects again this year. Keep in mind, this is a primary election, so voters will get 3 separate ballots, but remember only to mail in one of them.
The voters have to decide which party they want to be affiliated with for this very specific primary. So you get to vote 1 ballot. The other 2, you're just going to want to discard them. Don't send it back voted with the other ones, because if we see 3 voted party ballots in your packet, none of them get counted.
In the 2018 primary, Rutherford says as many as 700 people had their votes thrown out because they filled out more than 1 ballot. Perhaps the best news is the return postage is included this year, so there's no cost to you to exercise your right to vote. In Billings, I'm Jay Cohn reporting for MTN News.
All right, thank you, Jay. And for this first ever all mail-in election, you do have a little more time to get registered. That deadline is now pushed to May 26th, some 2 weeks later than normal. Well, a group seeking to put marijuana legislation on the November ballot in Montana says it will now move forward with a statewide signature drive. New Approach Montana will have signature gatherers out starting Saturday. They'll be using safety precautions like masks, gloves, and wrapped single-use pens for anyone signing. Committee leaders say after the state relaxed the stay-at-home order, it is now feasible to collect signatures in person with some adjustments. Last month, the judge denied a request to gather signatures online. New Approach has proposed a pair of measures, one to allow recreational marijuana sales, the other a constitutional amendment to make 21 the minimum age to buy or possess marijuana. They must receive more than 25,000 and 50,000 signatures respectively to get on the ballot. Well, if you're tired of watching movies from your couch and you want to get back to the gym, it may come sooner than expected. Today, Governor Bullock announced additional Phase 1 guidelines to allow gyms, movie theaters, and museums to open beginning Friday, May 15th. They can operate at 50% capacity and with a whole slew of updated cleaning guidelines and rules. Many businesses have taken advantage of this time to make needed renovations and updates.
Get some preparations done. You know, pools don't fill up overnight. Getting all of our facility ready, and the biggest thing is getting our staff all back on board after being gone 6 weeks is a lot of work. But our team is really excited and looking forward to opening our doors.
I think with being closed for 50 some days, people have learned a lot. It's like another family to a lot of people. They just, one of the main part is they get to see people and talk to people along with working out and staying healthy.
And for the complete list of rules for gyms, fitness studios, movie theaters, and museums to open and maintain, you can go to this story on ktvq.com. Gallatin County is confirming 2 more positive coronavirus cases tonight, ending a streak of 3 consecutive days with no new cases reported by the state. That, in addition, upping the active cases to 25 across Montana, with 6 patients hospitalized. Those 25 active cases are spread between 11 different counties, 5 of them here in Yellowstone County. Yellowstone County Health Officer John Felton says what we're seeing now with current counts predates the reopening of businesses because of the incubation period involved, and he does expect an uptick again ahead because of that. Still, for the most part, the news has been good here in Montana in the battle to keep the coronavirus from spreading. You can see on this map all the counties to the east and north of Yellowstone County, particularly in the green, that haven't even reported a single case of COVID-19. That includes 26 of Montana's 56 counties overall. Still, Felton says now is not the time to become complacent.
Fleetwood Mac said it best when they said, "Don't stop thinking about tomorrow." So things are looking good right now, but we haven't yet reached the point that we would expect to see the cases from the initial reopening. And then we're still probably close to 2 weeks away from seeing the effects of the reopening of bars and restaurants. So people have done really well in terms of following the guidelines up till now. It's just not time to think that this is all behind us. So we need to keep being vigilant.
And Felton says during this Phase 1, it is still especially important for the elderly and people with compromised health conditions to continue to shelter at home. Some of Montana's students headed back to class today. Willow Creek School in Gallatin County reopened, becoming one of the first schools in the entire country to do so. The small town of Willow Creek had 2 school buses running this morning, making sure all of the kids followed social distancing requirements. Teachers and staff greeted students at the door with temperature checks before entering the school. Willow Creek has a total of 56 students. 40 of those have returned to finish out the school year. The school's principal says they decided to reopen today in order to help students get used to the many changes and then have the weekend to soak it all in. The coronavirus pandemic is also impacting state revenue. Today, Wyoming Governor Mark Gordon called a special session for the legislature to deal with the issue. That session is set for May 14th, the first special session in more than 15 years. We'll also focus on how to spend Wyoming's $1.25 billion of federal relief. Well, just one day after Wyoming's largest one-day increase in COVID-19 cases, today the state is reporting only 4 new cases. Wyoming still has the least number of coronavirus-related deaths across the country. And as expected, today in South Dakota, confirmed cases jumped by more than 100 as test results came back from employees at a Sioux Falls meatpacking plant. There are now 846 active cases there in South Dakota. Starting today, Montanans who find themselves facing limited resources due to COVID-19 can get some assistance through the $123 million in emergency grants. One program receiving money is the Emergency Housing Assistance Program, which can help provide rent, security deposit, mortgage payments, and other assistance on issues resulting from job loss. MTN spoke with Montana Housing Operations Manager Cheryl Cohen about what applicants can do to help streamline their application.
Really recommend that applicants use Foxfire or Chrome. And for technical or troubleshooting issues, they can email support@submittable.com. That's the quickest way to get a response if an applicant is having challenges getting through the application process or uploading the required documents.
And as our communities work to rebound, you can catch all of the rebound stories on our website, ktvq.com. COVID-19 precautions have also altered the work for chaplains at the two Billings hospitals. Outside clergy are now not allowed into the hospitals except in near-death cases. Chaplains visit more at Billings Clinic, but also rely on other ways for patients to communicate. St. Vincent chaplains are now visiting individual patients in place of their normal clergy.
We receive a lot of phone calls from folks, either from patients themselves or from their families, saying in the absence of our pastor being able to go up and see our loved one, could you do that for us? And that cuts across all denominational issues, of course, and so we do a lot of that.
The flow of patients coming in for routine procedures and day surgeries and even traumas and all the accidents that usually happen when people are out driving around and going to the store, those have all decreased. So it's been a mix of both worlds.
And we'll hear more from both those chaplains tonight on the Q2 10 o'clock news. Well, an annual event honoring teachers has been canceled, but an adjustment to that reveal still made for a celebration today.
I can't even put words to this. I'm so appreciative.
This is how Bitterroot Elementary School Principal Kevin Croft and 5 other educators were rewarded with Golden Apple Awards today. Billings Education Association and the Teachers Union chose 6 outstanding educators who exemplify excellence in education. And this year the announcement happened on Zoom, and a drive-by recognized each recipient. And the 6 Golden Apple Award recipients are Stacy Bird from Poly Drive, she's a 2nd grade teacher there. Kevin Croft, who we just heard from. Shelley Green, Lewis and Clark Middle School life science teacher. Natalie Miller, Beartooth secretary. Alice Nation from Senior High School, she's a Spanish teacher there. And Paula Simcox, a 1st grade teacher at McKinley. Normally, the 6 Golden Apple winners are honored at the Educator Appreciation Awards banquet, which unfortunately has been canceled. Still to come on tonight's MTN 9 o'clock news, we'll show you a new system that all of Montana's frontline workers will soon benefit from. But first, Bob McGuire's in with your complete 7-day forecast.